안녕하세요. Welcome to Learn Korean. Today our goal is to be able to introduce yourself by sharing basic information. Hopefully my screen is showing up well. So again, this is the goal for today. I can introduce myself by sharing basic information. Basic information. What do you think are some basic information that you can share in Korean? Obviously, your name, right? So how do you introduce yourself? By saying your name. You can say, well, first of all, you want to say hello. Usually, if you're introducing yourself, you probably are meeting people for the first time, which means you should be speaking in a polite way. So today our verb, like the conjugation, is going to be where you're speaking politely. So it's going to be in the casual polite form. Okay. And many of you probably know, but how do you say hello in a casual, polite way in Korean? You say 안녕하세요. 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 So 안녕하세요 obviously means hello in a casual, polite form. 안녕하세요. And then you would introduce your name. You can say 저는, your name, and end by saying 입니다. So I'm going to type that out. 저는, your name goes here. And then 입니다 at the end. 저는 means I, name, and the 입니다 is the verb. Because in Korean, a verb goes at the end. So I'm going to also write that. I guess grammar point. Verb goes at the end. Okay. So 저는 blank입니다. So for me, my first name is Ginny. So I'll say 저는 지니입니다. 저는 지니입니다. And let's see. So 저는 means I or me. And then 입니다 at the end is a polite way to say I am. Okay. So, and then that could be it, right? Sometimes self-introduction, all you need is, hello, I'm Ginny. But you maybe want to say something like, nice to meet you. So let's learn how to say nice to meet you. You can say 반갑습니다. 반갑습니다. 반갑습니다 means nice to meet you. 반갑습니다. 반갑습니다. Notice the ending is in the 니다 ending. Here also we have 니다 ending. So that is a pattern of the verb ending. 반갑습니다. 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 And then that could be it there, right? That's for sure. That could be it. So instead of saying goodbye, you probably already know you can say 안녕히 계세요. Instead of that, you probably want to say 반갑습니다. And then maybe the next person will introduce themselves. Okay? So let's just review that again. So you can say 안녕하세요. Let me zoom in here. 안녕하세요. 저는 blank입니다. 순두스 감사합니다 for all the hearts. 감사합니다. 반갑습니다. And the intonation is kind of like this. Once again. 안녕하세요. 저는 지니입니다. 반갑습니다. And when you say your name, you can say your full name or you can say just your first name. And remember, in Korean, your last name comes first, right? So in Korean, last name comes first. Okay? So for me, I would say 심진이. 심진이 is what I would say. And then, ooh, where's my face? It went away. And then, I don't know, give me a name. Give me a name, a Korean name. In the meantime, I'm going to see if I can bring back my, I liked the two screens. 안 되나? Okay, 반갑습니다. And then, what else can you say in a self-introduction? Maybe you can say where you're from. 저는 Place you are from 에서 왔어요. 저는 place you're from 에서 왔어요. 저는, what does that mean? 저는 means I. 왔어요. Remember, verb goes at the end. So 왔어요 means I came, like came from. So the word from is actually 에서. 에서. 저는 blank 에서 왔어요. I, the place, from, came. So if you're from America, so let's learn some words for different places now. So for the place, how do you say America in Korean? You can say 미국. 미국, USA. Where else? Which country name would you like to learn? Good, 미국. 잘했어요. 콜분이, spelling is great. If it's a Korean person, they would obviously say 한국. 한국 means Korea. Where else? You don't have to say the country. You can say like the city, right? Yes, 콜분이 씨, 한국. Perfect. You can also say the city name if you want. You can also say, I don't know, where else? If you maybe are attending like an event. Oh, Miami. Miami, good one. So Miami spelling is just ma, I, e, mi. Miami. Miami. 네. You can say like a company that you're from if you're representing a company or an organization. Okay? So let's practice that using the place name that you want to say. So for me, I'll do USA. 저는 미국에서 왔어요. 콜분이 씨, 미주리에서 왔어요. 네, 와우, 미주리에 사시는구나. 미주리에서 오랫동안 살았어요? So far we have about 4 sentences. Let's go over from the beginning. 안녕하세요. 저는 지니입니다. 반갑습니다. 저는 미국에서 왔어요. What else do you want to share in your self-introduction for the first time? There's lots you can share. In Korean, they tend to ask for people's ages. You might have already realized that. You can say 나이는, that means ask for the age. 나이는, age, in native number. And then 살이에요. So 이에요 would be the verb because verb goes at the end. 이에요 means is. 나이는 means as for the age. And you have to say the age in native number. And then you have to add the word 살이에요. 나이는 blank 살이에요. You don't have to say this part. Any subject word, you don't have to say. You know, the 저는 word, you don't have to say it. It's pretty obvious you're talking about yourself. So you can omit the word 저는. You can also omit the word 나이는 because the following information, it is pretty obvious you're talking about your age, right? So you can just say your age and then 살이에요. 콜분이 씨, 나이는 34살이에요. 오, 잘했어요. 콜분이 씨, 한국 사람이에요? So this calls for a quick lesson on the native numbers. So if you didn't know, there are 2 ways to say numbers in Korean. Usually my students go, oh man, because there's two things you have to learn. So the native number is here. 아, 네. 콜브니 씨 한국 사람은 아니에요. 그럼 미국 사람이에요? Follow 잘했어요. 나이는 25살이에요. 잘했어요. So in Korean, native numbers is here. It sounds like this. 0, 하나, 둘, 셋, 넷, 다섯, 여섯, 일곱, 여덟, 아홉, 열. And then the Sino numbers, they sound like this. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Do these sound familiar? Usually people say native numbers sound more familiar. That might be because when people are counting things out loud, like they're like saying, oh, how many people are here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They would say the native numbers. And babies, when they learn numbers for the first time, they tend to learn the native numbers first. The parents would teach them like 하나, 둘, 셋 before they say the 1, 2, 3 like that. Okay? So 하나, 둘, 셋, 넷. So now going back to our lesson, 나이는 blank 살이에요. The tens are difficult. Yeah, 열, like 스물, 서른, 마흔. Is that what you're saying? 네, 어려워요. 어려워요. 맞아요. 콜브니 씨, you seem like a beginner high learner or novice high or intermediate learner. That's awesome. 네. So let's practice. If you want to say you're 20, you would say the word for 스물. 스물, and then you'd say 살이에요. Yeah, I could tell. Good for you. 스물 살이에요. And there are actually slight changes that you have to make to the words when it has a counter word. The word 살 here is a counter word because it follows a number. So if you want to say 스물 살, 20 years old, you actually have to say 스무 살. Who knew that already? 스무 살 instead of 스물 살. Let me make this smaller. 스무 살 instead of 스물 살 with the 받침 at the bottom. Everything else is the same. So if you want to say you're 30, you can say 서른 살. 서른 살이에요. 서른 살이에요. If you want to say you're 40, 마흔 살이에요. 마흔 살이에요. 네, 받침. Okay, well, I actually want to go back to this phrase. 저는 blank에서 왔어요. So instead of saying I'm from this place, you can also say which country you're from, as in I'm American, I'm Mexican, I'm Korean, right? So that phrase, you can say 저는 country you are from 사람이에요. 사람 means person. 저는 blank 사람이에요. 이에요, again, verb goes at the end. So the verb is 이에요. 이에요 basically means it is. It is. So for yourself, it's like I am a USA person. 저는 미국, right here, 미국 사람이에요. 사람이에요. 사람 means person. 파로 씨, 저는 도미니카 공화국 사람이에요. Great, and perfect spelling as well. Dominican Republic 사람이에요. 도미니카 공화국 사람이에요. 잘했어요. So if you know how to type in Korean, try typing out your introduction. 저는 blank 사람이에요. And in the middle, you can put words like 미국 사람이에요. 한국 사람이에요. We had Miami earlier for the third phrase. If you want to say I am a Miamian, I guess you can say Miami 사람이에요. 네. Good. And then again, in Korean culture, people share their age pretty like much right away. They ask about it as well. It's not anything kind of unusual. So you can say your age by saying 나이는, ask for the age, and say it in the native number, 살이에요. Okay? And then usually if you want to end a phrase of like introducing yourself and you're talking to a group of people, and maybe you're going to be like working with a group of people or you're going to be hanging out with them for a little bit, you can end by saying 반갑습니다, of course. But you can also say this phrase, 잘 부탁드립니다. Who knows what this means? 잘 부탁드립니다. What do you think this means? 잘 부탁드립니다. 잘 부탁드립니다. That's the intonation of it. 잘 부탁드립니다. 잘 means well. 네, 파로 씨, you got it. So it's like it literally means like, oh, please take care of me well. 잘 means well. 부탁 is like a favor. So I'm asking you a favor. So it's kind of like, please take care of me. But that's weird to say to your colleagues or the people you're going to hang out with. But it's just like a very polite, a very common thing for you to say that goes hand in hand with like 반갑습니다. 네, 잘 부탁드립니다. Especially if you're going to be like working with them or you're going to have to do stuff with them for either that day or that session or that trip or whatnot. If you know Japanese, there is a phrase that's very similar. I believe it's like 오네가이시마스 for 잘 부탁드립니다. Okay? Anyone also learn Japanese? By chance? Corey 씨, 감사합니다 for the heart. 감사합니다. 네. Heart me and heart puff. So cute. 감사합니다. 네. So 잘 부탁드립니다. Please take a good care of me. And I'm putting that in quotations because it's kind of like a figurative way of saying it. 네. So any questions at this point? Or anything that you think if you are introducing yourself by sharing basic information, what would you want to say? I have some in mind, so, but I'm wondering if you have some suggestions. And in the meantime, I'm going to see if I can bring back my face to show, because sometimes it helps if you watch my mouth as I speak. So I had it earlier. I don't know why it's gone. There was a way to show both videos, like my face and what's in front of me. No questions? 취미. Oh, okay, good. That's good. So we can start with that then. 네. So 취미. 취미 basically means hobby. Oops, wrong spelling. 취미는, so 취미 means hobby, and because our sentence, the topic is going to be about 취미, which means hobby, right? So you're going to start with that word, and you're going to add the 는, the topic particle, 취미는, and you can say 취미는, and then you can basically end by saying 이에요. It is. Okay? So what are some 취미 words that we can learn? What are some hobby words? Whoops. Okay. While you think of your hobby words, Farah, she has a question. Do Koreans say their occupation when introducing yourself? Yeah, they do. Yes. So we can do that next. After 취미, maybe we can talk about 직업. Okay. So 취미. What are some 취미? You wanna say like yeah, what do people say these days? Singing. 노래. 노래하기. Watching movies. 영화 보기. Going out with friends. 친구. So going out also is figurative, right? 친구, in Korean, I think, let's say 친구 만나기, to meet friends. 친구 만나기. 사진. Photography. And Marilena 씨, so I had you in mind to do the live today, but sorry, I couldn't make 9 p.m. Eastern time is a little early for me. So I started it at 10 p.m. Eastern, but good to see you. 사진. Oh, watching soccer. 축구. 축구 보기. 축구 means soccer, so to watch. 축구. 축구 보기. Thank you for all the hearts. 춤. Dance. 춤추기. 네, so these are some hobbies that you might say. Okay, so this, it can get kind of tricky. It's not just like one word that you can say for different types of activities because so you notice many of these end in ki. It basically is conjugating the verb here. So 노래 means song. 하기 comes from the verb 하다, which means to do. So it's like the act of singing. 노래하기, act of singing. 영화 보기, the act of watching the movie. 보기 comes from 보다, which means to watch or to see. 영화 means movie. So 영화 보기 means to watch a movie. If you want to change this to show, like series, you can say show. show 보기. If you want to say like the word Netflix, you can put it right here. 넷플릭스 보기. So usually the word 취미, hobbies, you can say the verb by changing it into the 기 ending verb, which is like the act of blah, blah, blah. Okay? So going back, you can say like 취미는 노래하기예요. 취미는 춤추기예요. 취미는 친구 만나기예요. 취미는 사진이에요. 취미는 축구 보기예요. And then of course that might bring up more conversation. This could be a good conversation starter, right? So they might say, oh yeah, what kind of movies do you like and whatnot. But again, today the goal is to introduce yourself by sharing basic information, not to have like a conversation just yet. So we'll stay focused on just delivering what you want to say before we go into like question and answers. Okay, and then the word 직업 is here. 직업은. 직업 means occupation. So you can share what you do for a living by saying 직업은, and then you can say your 직업은이에요. Okay. And again, if you are really following this well, I do want to bring up the aspect about 예요 versus 예요. Again, if you have no idea what this is, don't worry. For communicative purposes, it's not like the most important thing to learn. But if the word that you use before the verb 이에요 has a 받침, then you would say 이에요. If the word does not have a 받침, then you say 예요. So earlier for 노래하기, it should have been 노래하기예요. Okay? So going back to 직업. 직업. What is an occupation that you want to say? I'm going to change it to blue again. 받침 means, I'm going to write it right here. 받침 means final consonant. So in Hangul, like all these Hangul letters, sometimes you can have a consonant at the bottom of a syllable. That's a 받침. So for example, the word 한, the N sound is the 받침. Does that make sense? 네. Ooh. Andre verse. 감사합니다. Translator, professor, stewardess. Translator. Let's start with that. 번역가. I'm going to change this to blue. 번역가? 번역가예요. Again, 가. Does it have a 받침? Nope. Then you use 예요. As for my job, translator, it is. 직업은 번역가예요. Good. We also had professor, 교수. 교수 does not have a 받침, right? So you use 예요. 직업은 교수예요. As for my job, it is professor. And going back, you do not have to say 직업은. You don't have to say my job is. If you just say I'm a professor, 교수예요. 교수예요. Then you'll be understood, right? 교수예요. Stewardess. Stewardess like flight attendant, is that what you mean? If you do, then 승무원. Flight attendant. 승무원, 승무원 ends in a 받침, right? 승무원. 승무원이에요. 네, 승무원이에요. And then I also saw doctor. 의사. 의사. 의사 does not have a 받침. So 의사예요. 의사예요. Okay? How can I say psychologist? Psychologist, 심리학자. 심리학자. 심리 means like psychology. 심리학 is the study of psychology. 심리학자 is the person that studies psychology, so psychologist. 심리학자. 자 does not have a 받침, so you end with 예요. 심리학자예요. 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 And the pronunciation for 심리, you don't have to say 심리. Don't emphasize the L here. Just say 심리. It's kind of like 심리. 심리학자. 심리. Pronunciation. Okay, is there a specific difference between 교수 and 선생님? Yeah, sure. 교수 means professor, 선생님 means teacher. So 교수 is a type of 선생님, right? But to be specific, usually 교수 you teach at a college, 대학교. So 교수예요 or 선생님이에요. Okay? So that's how you would say like your 직업. How do you say office manager? You can say, so office manager. First of all, manage, if you want to specify like manager, in Korean, you say 매니저. 매니저 means like manager. Here, let me put this down here. Okay. But if more than like your job title, you want to say like you work in an office, if that is the point, 회사. Whoops. Sorry. 어머나. 어딨어? Okay. 회사원. 회사 means office worker. 회사 means office. One means employee. So 회사원, office worker. There's so many like offices in Korea, right? So 회사원 is a very common term that people use. 회사원. 회사원 and the 니은 ends in a 받침. So you would say this verb. 회사원이에요. 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 And do you hear how the N sound seems to carry over to the next syllable? That's how you want to pronounce it. 회사원이에요. 니에요. 회사원이에요. 회사원이에요. Try that. 회사원이에요. And I think overall in Korean you pronounce things, you don't have to like emphasize each syllable. Just kind of let it flow. 회사원이에요. 회사원이에요. 네. And then if you want to say like office and then you manage, you're that, then you can say 회사 and then you can say 매니저. 회사 매니저예요. 회사 매니저예요. 네. All right, so let's review from the top and then let me know if you have any questions. So again, goal of today is to introduce yourself by sharing basic information such as you're gonna start by saying 안녕하세요. 저는 지니입니다. 반갑습니다. 저는 미국에서 왔어요. 저는 한국에서 왔어요. 저는 마이애미에서 왔어요. Or 저는 미국 사람이에요. 저는 한국 사람이에요. 저는 마이애미 사람이에요. And then if you want to say your age, 나이는 blank 살이에요. And to practice the age, native number is here. So you can say, whoops, 하나, 둘, 셋, 넷, 다섯, 여섯, 일곱, 여덟, 아홉, 열, 스물, 서른, 마흔, 쉰, 예순, 일흔, 여든, 아흔, 백입니다. And you say 살이에요. And then 잘 부탁드립니다. 잘 부탁드립니다. 취미는 노래하기예요. 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 영화 보기예요. 춤추기예요. 친구 만나기예요. 사진이에요. 축구 보기예요. 춤추기예요. 직업은 번역가예요. 교수예요. 승무원이에요. 의사예요. 심리학자예요. 매니저예요. 회사원이에요. All right, we said a lot already, right, about ourselves. Okay, some questions. Bria asks, are E or ga subject markers, you use them based on the previous vowel or the consonant? Yes, that is correct. So for example, you would say, so this is, we're sidetracking on particles right now. So I'm just gonna do this in purple. Particles. So E or ka, right? For example, 친구. 친구 means friend. 친구, 구 ends in, there's no 받침, so you put 가. 친구가. 친구가. So 가 is used okay? 친구가. For the E, you would use it when it's a word with a 받침. So what is a word with a 받침? I can think of 선생님. 선생님 ends in a 받침. So you do 선생님이. 선생님이. Okay? And then Bria asks when to use 이가 versus 는, 을. Okay. So particles, yes, and Bria totally understand particles is not easy. So 이가, I say, are the subject markers. 는 are the topic markers. And by the way, markers can also mean particles. They're basically the same word. There's also 을, which is the object marker. Okay? So 이가 is the subject. When you want to emphasize the main subject of that sentence, you use 이. So let's say you need to emphasize, oh, it was my friend who met with me. Then you say, 아, 네, 친구가 만났어요. Kind of like that. Okay? And when you would use 은는 if that word is the main topic. So you're stating the topic usually in the beginning, like we see here, 저는, I'm the topic. 나이는, the age is the topic. 취미는, the hobby is the topic. 직업은, the occupation is the topic, right? So we use the topic marker. And again, 은 is used with without a 받침, with a 받침, and then 는 is used without a 받침. And 을을 is actually the object marker. It means objectively in the sentence. Like there's the main subject in the sentence and there's the object in a sentence, right? Not all sentences have an object, but usually grammatically, object basically means something that the verb is like done upon. So if you want to say, I met my friend, the friend becomes the object that you meet. I is the main subject and your friend is the main object, right? So you would say 친구를 만났어요. 친구를 만났어요. I met friend. I hope that makes sense. Okay, let's see. Sophia asks, do you think you can put this doc somewhere where people can access and read off it? Yeah, sure. I'll put it, well, I could put on my link tree, or why don't you go to, so this is a website I manage, kconnect.org. I'll put everything on here. That website also has like this Hangul chart that I have here, so you might find that useful. So please go to kconnect.org to access this after I turn the live off. And let's see, it's good to have a limit for myself as well. So let's go until the top of the hour. So wherever you are, in about 15 minutes, we'll end. Okay, there was another question. Or Corbuni said, 이가, the, and very general for topic 은는 a and starts the subject. Yeah, you're explaining, right? Yeah, good. 감사합니다. Oh, pronunciation question, Andre. Yeah, we can real quick go over that. So I have it right here. And I also have it with an asterisk because I don't think ui is it. It's basically ui. So u plus e, ui. So let me actually show you. Okay, so you can, so when you say it, you can't move your mouth, or you should not have to move your mouth. So hello, 안녕하세요. So like 의, 의. So everything is happening without you moving your lips. It's not 의, 아니에요. Just 의, 의, and then 이. 의. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's see. So did that make sense? Yeah. 의. 네. 감사합니다. What else? So again, introducing myself by sharing basic information. Maybe that's it. Or maybe you can say things like what you like, what you have. You know, maybe you want to say, oh, I have a dog or something, right? Great conversation starters. So let's go back to the document. Oh, good teacher. 감사합니다. Okay, so let me teach you a few more verbs that you can use, and then for the nouns that you can plug in. And sometimes you plug in English nouns and Korean people understand it, right? So you're fine. So let me flip the camera again. Okay, going back to the bottom of our doc. Some other useful verbs when introducing yourself. You can say what you have. So 있어요. 있어요 means have or to exist. They might be different verbs in English, but in Korean, basically, essentially the same meaning, 있어요. So if you want to say, like, I have a dog, 강아지 있어요. Again, the verb goes at the end, right? So 강아지 있어요. What else do you want to say? What do you have? Like, I have a sister or something, right? My younger sister 있어요, or like, what else? Yes, there is, there are. Oh, yeah, there is and there are. 있어요. Yes, good. Oh, A, you were learning Korean 1 year ago. You forgot everything? No, you did not forget everything. It's gonna click. 반갑습니다 in Hangul. Why? What about that? You spelled it just fine. Ah, I see what you're saying. 반갑습니다. I was scrolling through the chat. Okay, you can also say maybe like what you do other than, yeah, I got what you were trying to say, Korbuni. Okay, instead of saying like my job is, maybe you just want to say, oh, I do taekwondo or something, right? 해요. So 해요 would be a verb that's useful. 해요. Do. So taekwondo 해요. Maybe you do art or something, right? Then you can say like art 해요. Or like baking, maybe you are into baking. You can say baking 해요. 네. Oh yeah, how do you say like to like? 좋아해요. Like. So if you want to say, oh, I like Korean food 좋아해요. Bria, how do you say you've been doing something for a period of time, like learning Korean for 2 years? Yeah, good question. So first of all, okay, so let's just do an actual sentence. I have been learning Korean for 2 years, okay? So what are some words you need to know? So first of all, how do you say I? 저는, okay? Have been learning. So what's the main verb here? Learning, right? And the verb, where does it go? It goes at the end. So, and to keep it simple, 배웠어요. 배웠어요 means I learned. Have been learning is just basically a past tense of learn, right? So keep it simple. 배웠어요. Learned. Korean. In Korean, how do you say? 한국어. 한국어 means Korean language. Korean. For 2 years. How do you say 2 years? 2, you actually use the sino number, so but I'm just gonna write it here like this. Year. 년. 년 means year. So 2 years. Okay? So now you need the the word for. So for this time means like throughout the duration of, right? Throughout the duration of, that particle is 동안. So 동안 actually would be a particle. So particles, we're gonna do it in purple. So this is how you say it. 저는 한국어 2년 동안 배웠어요. Does that make sense? Okay, what else? We had another question. Okay, or Sophia said, do you have any tips on how to sound more comfortable, confident, also speaking faster? I wonder if what I said earlier, I had said like, oh, just make it sound fluid. Don't enunciate syllable by syllable was what I said. And in Korean, there's kind of this thing called liaison where the 받침, if it's followed by a iung, which is basically like a placeholder, then that 받침 seems to carry over to the next syllable. So instead of saying 배웠어요, instead of that, you would just say 배웠어요, as if the double shield got carried over to the third syllable. Does that make sense? So that, if you maybe keep that in mind, just to like make everything sound very fluid and liaison to like the next syllable and whatnot, you might sound a little more fluent, I guess. And you might feel that way too. Maybe you can also start to speak faster that way. What else? Okay. Andre, is there 2 different verbs like in English for to do versus to make? Yeah, of course. What do you mean? To do means, to do is 해요, and to make is different. 만들어요. Make. Is that what you're asking? Andre, I want verb go 싶어요. Oh, okay, good. Korbunishi, you are like my assistant today. So good, so helpful. 감사합니다. I got lost within the chats. A says, do Korean people right now can speak English? I mean, I would say, yeah, Korean students, so students in elementary school, they start learning English as a part of their curriculum in school. Not like as extra, but everyone learns English. I believe it's 3rd grade, like it's mandatory, or maybe 1st even. But there's also so many like English language kindergartens that are more expensive but so popular. Knowing English is just like you have to. Like it's the goal of maybe like all young Koreans, I think. So I think that aspect makes it where mostly if they're, rather young, they probably know how to speak English. Matthew, what is the difference between 있어요 and 이해요? Yes, that is a little tricky for beginner learners, but 이해요 basically means I am. 이해요 is like the is, am, are, was, were verb in Korean. So here. 이해요 is the be verb, basically. And you know what I mean, right? Is, am, are. So that means in Korean, you don't say is, am, are. They don't change depending on the main subject. It's always 이해요. Like they, 이해요. I, 이해요. She, 이해요. It's always 이해요. 있어요 means to have, or that something exists there. So this exist aspect might be confusing with the be verb aspect, but think about the existing, this definition as just that place has it. Wherever you're talking about, if you're talking about yourself, you have it. It exists within you. 있어요. 이에요 is just really simply the be verbs. Hope that makes sense. Yes, Bria, particles is not easy. I think it's also because in the English language, we don't have things like the particle. So that's why it's easy for Koreans, or sorry, for learners who are non-Korean to learn. Okay. How do you accentuate when talking like what should sound stronger? So in Korean, there's no accents, but different dialects might just emphasize different parts just naturally. You would usually accentuate the word that you feel like is important in that sentence, right? So like here, if you want to say, you know, your hobby, you're talking about the hobby, so maybe you want to emphasize the word 취미는, but there's no accent, kind of like in languages, you know, you have to put an accent on the second syllable or the vowel. There's nothing like that. Well, what time is it in Korea right now? Isn't it like 1 p.m. or something? Oh. Yes, I'm just looking through all your chats. Okay. Yes, I'm glad this was helpful. And special thanks to our teaching assistant, Korbuni Shi today. 박수! And Lebec or Liebeck, welcome in. We went over particles earlier. So here it is. If this helps, hopefully this helps you. All right, and I think it's a good time to start to wrap it up. Again, today the goal of the day was to introduce yourself by sharing basic information, and we did it in the casual, polite form. 네, I'm glad to hear, Korbuni. 화이팅! And one grammar point that came up was that the verb goes at the end, and 받침 basically means final consonant. When kimchi is asking, when n is at the end, it makes the N sound. Right here. That's a consonant for N sound, nian. Okay, so again, I'll put this document on my website, which is kconnect.org, just on the main website after I close this out. And then this is everything that we went over. I'll also see if I can just put this on my YouTube. So if anyone wants to review the video, it's easy for you to access. 네, I will try. So I don't know if she's still here, but Marilena, she actually inspired me to go live today. And it got so dark now. It's just mere 1 hour of time. Like the lighting is so different. But 네, Marilena 씨. So usually I'm in California time, Pacific time, probably like 7 p.m. or so on the weekdays. Usually like Monday or Tuesday or even Wednesday is probably when I can do live. And I think I do this because I love actually having an audience who like responds and they have actual questions and they're learning. I teach at a public school, but we're on summer break, so I have a little more time. So that I think that's what motivates me. It's basically you, like actual people, audience who are willing to learn. 감사합니다. 아니에요, 리백 씨. Okay, so with that, how should we end? 안녕히 가세요? Maybe some of you have to sleep, right? 감사합니다, 코리 씨. So maybe you want to say 안녕히 주무세요. Good night, or 잘 자요, which means good night also. So, and let's see, I think next one we can maybe do like a little bit of question and answering when you are talking with people you just met. So instead of just saying what you do or what your hobby is, you can also ask it, and maybe some reaction phrases, right? Like, oh, me too, or like, oh wow, that's cool. You know, those kinds of phrases. Maybe we can do something like that. I'll also take any input. Like if you want to learn something specific, please message me on TikTok. And then if that seems like an appropriate topic for the next time, we can do that. Okay? 네, I'm glad to see all you spelling out 안녕히 계세요 in the chat. So, 안녕히 계세요.